This chapter 9, is talking about carbon compounds. We are going to cover carbon compounds, starting with the carbon compounds, the different forms of carbon.
If I ask you what is the similarity between a sugar grain and a diamond, maybe you'll say that they both are lustrous. And what if I ask you the similarity between a diamond and a graphite? A graphite is just this piece of black stone used in laboratories. Maybe you'll think there is no similarity. Is there really no similarity between these two? The answer would surprise you. There is something common between all these three things. I'm referring to the element that these three are made up of. I'm referring to carbon. Wait a second. Are we saying that the sugar, the radiant diamond, and graphite are all made up of carbon? Absolutely. In fact, diamond and graphite are almost pure forms of carbon. They are majorly made up of carbon with a few minuscule elements that come as impurities. But how can there be so much difference in the looks of different materials made up of the same element? How can it be possible that the substances made up of the same element, carbon, appear totally different? And wait, they also have different chemical properties. The looks are different, the chemical properties are different, but they're made up of the same element, carbon.
So he's asking, or he's demonstrating different forms of carbon. Diamond and graphite, both of them are made of carbon. Sugar also mainly made of carbon besides hydrogen and oxygen, but diamond and graphite, despite the differences in their shape and their look and their appearance and their properties, chemical and physical properties, they both of them made of pure graphite. But what is exactly make them greatly different from each other? That's what we will see right now.
Is this some kind of magic? Well, the magic lies in the element itself. The element carbon has several interesting properties, and that's what makes it special. It is capable of forming bonds with most of the elements. That is the reason why carbon compounds are quite commonly found everywhere. But did you know that carbon is actually present in very small quantities in the Earth's crust and also in the atmosphere? That's the irony. In spite of being present in almost every compound around us, carbon accounts for almost less than 1% in the Earth's crust and in the atmosphere. But have you ever wondered what makes carbon so unique? What gives carbon the capability to have so many different properties? Let me give you a hint. Can you tell me what are the chemical properties of elements based on? Yes, they are mainly based on the atomic number. The atomic number is the number of protons in the atom.
I think that we have covered it previously. Atomic number of anyone is the number of protons that exist inside the nucleus, and it equals to the number of electrons in the outer energy levels, or the energy levels in the neutral state of the matter. So, for example, here we have hydrogen, 1 proton, and 1 electron. So the atomic number is 1 proton, and equal to the number of electrons. The atomic number in this one is 6. If you count protons here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 protons, and you'll find 6 electrons. So the atomic number is 6. This is atomic number of carbon. Okay, and another one, atomic number is 8. We have 8 protons and 8 electrons. Atomic number refers to the number of protons, which is a positively charged particles exist in the nucleus of the atom.
Tim, and why is it so? Because the number of protons in an atom is equal to the number of electrons in it, right? And electrons, valence electrons to be precise, are the ones that participate in chemical reaction.
What determines the properties of any element is the number of valence electrons, and we have defined the term valence electron previously. It refers to the number of electrons exist in the outermost energy level. For example, here in the hydrogen we have 1 valence electron. In the case of carbon we have 4. I'm not going to count these two in the first energy level. I only count the electrons in the outermost energy level. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 valence electron for carbons, and for this one 8 we have 6 electron in the outermost energy level. 2 in the first one, we didn't count them. We count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is oxygen actually. oxygen atom. So the valence electron refers to the number of electrons in the outermost energy level. In the hydrogen, it's 1. In carbon, it's 4. In oxygen, it's 6. It's not the atomic number, not equal. It equals to the number of electrons that exist in the outermost energy level.
So is number of electrons in the outermost orbital our answer? Absolutely. The chemical properties of an element are based on the number of electrons present in its outermost orbit. We know that the atomic number of carbon is 6. That means the electronic configuration of carbon is 2, 4. Now let me ask you a question. Look at the atomic structure of the carbon atom. To achieve stability, will carbon take 4 electrons or will it donate 4 electrons?
Answer this question. To achieve stability, what should carbon do? Gain 6 or lose 6? Donate 6? Accept or donate 4 electrons? Who can answer this question?
Sorry, what's the question?
The question, carbon needs to achieve stability, and stability, most of the atoms reaches stability by achieving 8 electrons in the outermost energy level.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. So for carbon, it will accept 4 or it will donate 4. What exactly it will do? Or will share with 4? What is the best answer for that?
Carbon is 4 أصلا صح؟
هي فيها 4. It has 4 valence electrons in the outermost
I think
energy
Mr.
level.
Shares, right? Either loses or gains.
Yes, because the probability of gaining and losing are equal. You gain 4 or lose 4 seems equal. So carbon atom most of the time tends to share electrons. Let's see that.
Electrons? Well, the simplest way to achieve the octet state will be by sharing electrons. This gives us the answer to many queries. Yes, the fact that carbon can share its outermost electrons with any other element gives it the capacity to form chemical bonds with various other elements.
Because carbon is able to form or share with 4 electrons, this black 4 related to carbon atom can share with 4 different atoms, as you see. And this varies in bonding with different elements, make carbon make thousands, maybe millions of compounds. Okay, because its ability to form 4 valence electron, and also it can form, this bonds could be straight line, could form a chain as you see right now, and can make a bond with many other elements by sharing electrons. That's why carbon atoms, you will find it everywhere around you. I have estimation for the number of compounds of carbon around 5 millions, while the whole other elements, which is about more than 100 elements, form maybe hundreds of thousands. Carbon alone, compounds of carbon, reaches 5 million, while the whole other elements combined form around some hundreds of thousands of elements. And that's because of the unique nature of carbon and its ability to form 4 covalent bonds in a chain or in a series.
Now let's meet in the next video, wherein we will learn about the covalent type of bond.
We'll not go to the next video, we'll go to this one. Forms of carbon. We have 3 forms of carbon that's written here. We will see video about them that explains them quickly. We have diamond, and we have graphite, and we have fluorines. So let me show you a video about the different forms of carbon. Now we know about carbon compound and why it forms a lot of compounds, or form a lot of different compounds. Right now, pure carbon forms 3 different forms, major forms: diamond, graphite, and fluorines. Let me just stop sharing and find the video that talks about the 3 different types of carbon. Sugar, this is not the one that we need. That's it. me share with you the video quickly.
The symbol C. Amorphous solids, the constituent particles have no definite order of arrangement. Coal, coke, and charcoal are amorphous forms in a definite order. Carbon exists in two forms, crystalline and amorphous. In crystalline solids, the constituent particles are arranged in a definite order. But in amorphous solids, the constituent particles have no definite order of arrangement. Coal, coke, and charcoal are amorphous forms of carbon and diamond. Graphite and fullerene are crystalline forms of carbon. Both these forms are called allotropes of carbon.
So all these are pure carbon forms. So if you talk about diamond, it has a crystalline shape. Graphite has a crystalline shape. Fullerene here has also a crystalline shape. We'll see the difference between these shapes. Amorphous one will create for you coke, coal, and charcoal. All of these are amorphous forms of pure carbon. So all of these are different forms of pure carbon.
Allotropes are forms of the same element which exhibit different physical properties but with the same chemical composition. Let's now classify carbon according to its shape, structure, and physical properties. Accordingly, let us understand the crystalline forms. Diamond. Diamond is the hardest crystalline form of carbon. In diamond, each carbon atom is linked to 4 other carbon atoms by covalent bonds forming a rigid 3-dimensional structure. Each C to C bond length is 154 pm. Diamond's density.
Don't care about the numbers here, but just look to the shape of the diamond and the strength of the bonds.
Is equal to 3.5 grams per cc. Here, no electrons are available as they are involved in bond formation. Because of the absence of free electrons, diamond is a bad conductor of electricity. Diamond has a high melting point of 4000 Kelvin or more. Let's now learn about other crystalline allotropic forms of carbon in free state. Graphite. In graphite, each carbon atom is linked to 3 other carbon atoms by covalent bonds, resulting in hexagonal rings which are arranged in layers one above the other.
So this is a major difference between graphite and diamond, and that's why diamond is so expensive. Diamond, each one carbon atom linked to 4 carbon atoms, but here in the graphite it's connected to 3. If you look at any one, this one for example, connected to 3, and the 4th one will be a link between 2 layers. So this one is above layer and the one here is another layer. Let's see it again.
Allotropic forms of carbon in free state. Graphite. In graphite, each carbon atom is linked to 3 other carbon atoms by covalent bonds.
So this one is the layer and this is a lower layer. This is above and this is lower one. And if you look at any one of these, you will find it linked to 3. 1, 2, 3. The 4th will be a link from this layer to the lower layer. So it consists of layer. Graphite consists of layer, not like diamond, which is connected in a shape that is not layers, but 4 links for each carbon atom. So that's why diamond has a very high melting point, and it's the hardest form of pure carbon or forms of carbon. But this one is not hard as diamond. Graphite is not hard as diamond, as hard as diamond.
Resulting in hexagonal rings which are arranged in layers one above the other.
Hexagonal rings. Why hexagonal? Count it. One, for example, this ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make 6 shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Let's count them then. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, guys. 3 carbon atoms here and 3 in the above. Each layer make this one. Count any one, any ring, you will find it 6 atoms and 6 covalent bonds. So we call it hexagonal rings. That's linked, make layers of hexagonal rings that's linked by covalent bonds. And it's less hard or not hard as diamond.
One of the carbon-carbon bonds is a double bond. Thus, the valence of carbon is satisfied. Since one electron of each carbon atom in graphite is free to move about,
some carbon atoms are free to move because each one is linked to 3. Not all of them make a 4th link with the other layer, but we will find some carbon atoms has one free electron. That's why graphite connects electricity. Graphite, like the one in your pencil, this is graphite. It connects electricity.
Graphite is a good conductor of electricity. The carbon-to-carbon bond length is 142 pm. These layers are held together by a weak force of attraction, and the distance it is grey in color and is opaque with metallic luster. Graphite's density varies from 2 to 2.25 grams per cc, and it melts at about 1800 Kelvin. We will examine another carbon allotrope, fullerene. Chemically, fullerenes are formed by the combination of a large number of carbon atoms. The first one to be identified was C60. Its structure has been established on the basis of investigations carried out by Buckminster Fuller, an American architect. So fullerenes are often called buckyballs. The shape of fullerene resembles that of a soccer ball with 6-member as well as 5-member rings.
So it has
12.
It has hexagonal and pentagonal shapes. This 5 rings or 5 carbon atom, we call it pentagonal shape, and with 6 carbon atoms, we call it hexagonal shape. So it consists of a sphere like a ball, and this ball has a hexagonal rings linked with a hexagonal with pentagonal shapes and form a sphere. This is called fullerene.
5-member rings and 26-member rings.
That's enough for knowing about the different types of carbon atom. So we talk about fullerene, which has this shape, and as you see here, graphite has layers, and the layers, each carbon atom is linked with 3 layers, are connected with other layers, but each carbon here linked with 3, that's why it has 1 free electrons, and that's why graphite is able to conduct electricity. And diamond here has this shape, linked shape, and it is so hard. Diamond carbon atoms are arranged in a rigid 3-dimensional network. That's how to describe it. So I've described different forms of carbon. Right now we will move to saturated hydrocarbon, which is a branch of or a type of compounds that is mainly made of carbon atom. So we talked about the nature of carbon atom and why it's rich with different compounds and can make different compounds, and it's unique. And we talk about the different forms of carbon. Right now we'll move to talk about the saturated hydrocarbons. So I will stop sharing, and I will find a video to share with you about the last thing, which is saturated. So that's the video. I like it about it. So let's share it. That's it.
We have seen the amazing property of carbon to form so many bonds with a variety of other elements and even with other carbon atoms. Its capability to form so many bonds is what makes carbon widely present. However, the living world is dominated by one major combination. What do we mean by this? Well, although carbon forms numerous bonds with several elements, the most preferred element for combination is hydrogen. Yes.
The most preferred element for carbon to link with is hydrogen. So hydrogen is widely spread, and they form a branch or a type or category of compounds. We call it saturated hydrocarbon. Hydro comes from hydrogen, and carbon comes from carbon atom. So this is a type of or a category of compounds that is mainly made of only carbon and hydrogen. We call it hydrocarbons. It has two branches, saturated, our lesson right now, and unsaturated. Now we'll talk about saturated hydrocarbons and understand its meaning. Again, the word hydrocarbon means compound that is mainly made of carbon and hydrogen only.
Yes, hydrogen and carbon readily form bonds to form a vast range of compounds. Any idea what the combination is called? These are collectively called as hydrocarbons.
So the word hydrocarbons refers to the compound that is mainly made of hydrogen and carbon atom only.
As the name says, they're compounds chiefly containing hydrogen and carbon.
Chiefly. Sometimes you have substituted. We call it, when you have substituted like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, we call it substituted hydrocarbons. But like this, only carbon and hydrogen, or chiefly or mainly carbon and hydrogen, we call it pure hydrocarbons or hydrocarbons for short.
So are these compounds only made up of these two elements? Not necessarily. Hydrocarbons mainly have these two. However, the other elements like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and many others also participate in the formation of hydrocarbons. But the backbone consists of carbon and hydrogen atoms. So a hydrocarbon will chiefly have carbon atoms bonded to each other and hydrogen atoms attached to them. They would appear somewhat like this. Wait a second. These are the saturated and unsaturated compounds of carbon.
Saturated means you have only single covalent bond throughout the compound, like this one. This is saturated hydrocarbon. And if you have double bond or triple, one or more, it will be unsaturated. So you have saturated again, which includes only or have only a single covalent bond throughout the compound, like this one. But this one, if the compound contains at least one or at least double or triple covalent bond, it will be unsaturated.
Carbon, right? Absolutely. That is why they are referred to as the saturated hydrocarbons, those with a single covalent bond between all the carbon atoms. We can see that all these are single covalent bonds here, and the others are called as unsaturated hydrocarbons, that is, those having at least one double or triple covalent bonds between the carbon atoms. Here we can see one double covalent bond between two carbon atoms, hence unsaturated. Now, in order to simplify our understanding and to study these hydrocarbons in detail, we divide these into three major categories. These are called the alkanes, alkenes, and the alkynes.
So these are the types of hydrocarbons. Alkanes, totally saturated. Alkenes with ENES, this is containing double covalent bond, and alkynes contains triple covalent bond. Alkanes, only single covalent. Alkenes, double covalent. Alkynes, triple covalent.
Let's understand each type in detail. The first one is alkanes. This family is that of saturated hydrocarbons. That means all the carbon atoms share a single covalent bond with each other. Now, can you tell me the maximum number of carbon atoms that can be present in alkanes? Well, we cannot estimate it because the carbon chains can be too long to count. So how do we study the higher alkanes? I mean the alkanes which have a very high number of...
Don't forget, alkanes contain only single covalent bond. Alkenes, double, alkynes, triple. Right now, we are talking about the first type, which is called alkanes, or alternatively, we can say it saturated hydrocarbons. It contains only single covalent bonds.
Carbon atoms. Well, in order to study the alkanes collectively, we have a formula to represent them. The formula for alkanes is CnH2n plus 2. In this
general formula, we will know where did it come from right now, but this is formula for the alkanes, which consist of only single covalent bond.
N will be the number of carbon atoms. So can we represent all the alkanes using this formula? Absolutely. Let's try it out. The simplest alkane that we know is methane. Can you tell me its molecular structure?
Can anybody know how many carbon atoms in methane? Have you studied it before, guys? Methane. حد يعرف؟
مش 1
Yes,
CH4.
yes, bravo عليك. CH4. So one carbon, yes, one carbon atom. If you want to represent it, let me do that for you, so it's easy to understand it. So we said that we have the formula CnH2n plus 2. This is for alkanes or saturated hydrocarbons. And N is the number of carbon atoms. If I say C only one, I didn't write one. If C1, how many hydrogen we would have? You put 1 here. 2 multiply 1 equal 2. 2, let's apply this equation. 2 multiply, seems that's inverted 2. Yeah, again. 2 multiply, this is the number from this equation here. 2 multiply, number is 1. So this is the first part, plus 2. So we have 2 multiplied by 1. So N here represents the number of carbon. How carbon we have? 1. So 2 by 1 equal 2 plus 2 equal 4. So we will have 4 hydrogen atoms. So the formula of this one will be C1H4. We didn't type 1. From the previous lessons, I said if you have 1 as subscript, we didn't write it. So the first one has the formula CH4. This is the formula of what? Of methane. What if we have 2 carbon atoms? C2H what? If I don't write it, I won't write it. If we have another one, I'll make it as questions for you. If I have 3, H would be what? If I have 4, وكل واحد فيكم جاب واحدة، تمام؟ H would be what? طيب ناخد أول واحد عبد الرزاق. Answer the first one. If we have to apply this equation, the number of hydrogen equal 2n2. This is equation 2n plus 2. This is equation for alkanes to find the number of hydrogen atoms. So what's the number of hydrogen atoms here, Abdul Razak?
1.
No, 1. Why 1? You have now. This is N. أقول لك هنا
C2H.
C2H what? I didn't. I put. You know. You have to put something here. I didn't write it. So what would be H? No, you know from this equation. Apply it. How many number of Abdullah will answer this one. How many number of carbon atoms do we have?
2. Okay.
2 multiply 2. Yes. So what's the answer?
It's 6.
6. برافو. طيب ناخد اللي بعد كده C3H8 على.
It will be 8. 3 times 2 6. 6 plus 2 8.
برافو عليك. 8. The last one will go for Abdullah Al-Aithan. 4. Apply the equation. 2 multiply. Abdullah. What would write here? Abdullah. وعبدالله معانا ولا مش معانا يا شباب؟
معانا بس ما يقدرش يتكلم.
ليه؟ ماله؟ عبدالله.
Yes.
Yes, Abdullah. What is the answer for this? Yes. What's the answer for the last one? How many hydrogen atoms?
10.
Yes, 2 multiply 4, 8, 8 plus 2, it's 10. Okay, guys? So let's continue to end this part, and then we will stop with this video and continue with it in the next session. But let me end this part. And that's the shape of methane, CH4. C and around it 4 hydrogen atoms. This is called chemical, this is called structural formula, and this is called empirical or structure or formula, not structure formula, chemical formula, and this is called structural formula. Structure shows you the shape and how atoms are linked. So this is called structural. So we will stop here, guys, and we'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. And remember that we will have, after this chapter, directly we'll have exam on that, and on the previous chapter 2, chapter 7, I mean. Thank you for listening, and see you tomorrow, inshallah. I may upload for you the other links, the video, because I recorded it. Thank you, guys.